Upstairs to the Right music channel. Thank you so much for being here today. Whether you're watching this live right now or if you watch this in the rerun, I want to let you know that I do truly appreciate you stopping by. Yeah, I'm gonna stall here a little bit while I go through my tale of woe for this week. Excuse me. Okay, my cat wants out. I'm gonna let him out because if I don't, he's gonna do nothing but just make a whole bunch of noise. Yeah, about last week's program, I cut it short. I was about 40 minutes or 35 minutes in. I cut it short. I'll be honest with you, that week prior to that, I was sick pretty bad from my ailment that I have. Hey, Mickey, good evening. And I thought to myself, wow, I can do a live stream. I thought I was well enough to do a live stream. So I did last week's live stream, though it was extremely hot that night. And part of it also was fever as well. The very next day after that, this last Monday, I had to go in for a CT scan. Unfortunately, because of my illness. And when they give you a CT scan here, they inject you with this dye that basically goes through your body and it illuminates, I guess, organs and shows the pathways of the blood flowing through you. But it was like it's a really burning sensation. It just goes through your whole body and you feel like you're on fire from the inside. So it's not a really pleasant thing. So I did that on Monday, and I thought to myself, well, I couldn't possibly be any worse off than I was the week prior in terms of illness, but boy, was I wrong, because the next day, Tuesday, now I tested myself for the coof, and the test came back negative, but it was, I'm recovering now, it was the, hey, Mickey, I appreciate that. Yeah, I had an average temperature of around 37.5 all this last week. And only just today, I actually start to feel a little bit normal. I have no idea what that was. I've never had anything like that hit me in my life. It was really terrible. Somehow or another, I pulled a regular stream here on my channel out of my butt. But as Noodle and Guitars pointed out to me, my description of the 50s wiring was a little inaccurate. I thank God that I have people like him that fact check and keep an eye on things for me. But I decided to let it go because the basic premise is the same. As far as that's concerned, 50s wiring is something I think that you should have. I don't think the treble bleed is something that you necessarily need to do. Yes, sir. Feeling Newland. Yeah, you made it. So I was just talking about you. So Newland pointed out that, but so I'm going to let it ride. My description of the 50s wiring was not great. But I'm going to let it ride because the general gist is there. But I'm surprised, guys, that I actually was able to do that. If you look at that, and as I'm filming that, I had a temperature of about 37.3, 37.4 at that time when I was filming that. So I guess I could claim delirium a little bit into why that came out the way that it did. But no, the basic principle is still sound. So I'm gonna let it ride. I'll take it as a win. The fact that even that I'm sitting here tonight, I didn't know if I was gonna make it or not, is a great pleasure to me. So I'm actually glad to be feeling better and to be here. Oh yeah, thanks, Newland. I appreciate it. But the point is, yeah, guys, it was a small miracle that I got anything out at all. So I'll take it as a win. And I want to thank each and every one of you for watching it and supporting me in this channel. All right, so I have I have 50s wiring on my Lesters, never needed treble bleed. Yeah. Did you get your, not reverb repair, it's my vintage Echoplex. And actually, we're going to make a show out of that. As of tomorrow, I'll be contacting a friend of Fern. As you know, Fern is our local luthier here that we have on this channel that we sometimes refer to. He does all my work for me. And he referred me to an amp guy who's going to, I'll arrange this week to take it into him, and we're going to film that. So we're going to film me taking my vintage Echoplex into the amp guy and seeing exactly what happened there, what's going on in terms of that. I think I just blew a fuse. But we shall see. Yeah, I see 7 you out there. I see 2 likes. Let's hit them likes up. Let's get those likes up, guys. Let's not forget that. What else is going on? All right, so first thing I want to talk about is a company called Electric Music. They had a bunch of pedals that they put out back starting or in the 2012, 2013. This guy, Tommy, started putting out his own pedals. One of them was the Lumpy's Lemon Drop, which was a pedal that emulated the Vox 6 and 7 series amps. Now, if you remember, about a year or 2 years ago on this channel, I did a report on this Lumpy's guitar shop or Electric Magic pedals. And I told you to avoid Tommy at all costs because he was taking money in and he wasn't sending out any of his products. As a matter of fact, 2 years ago, to the day, when I made that video, I was already a year, almost 2 years in to not getting my pedal from him. I was so frustrated by that point that actually a year and a half in. I was so frustrated at that point that I decided to make that video saying, hey, stay away from this guy. He's no good. Bad idea to order anything from him. 4 years later, guys, after ordering that pedal, Tommy emailed me 2 days ago. And he said, hey, if you still want this pedal, give me your most recent address. Mickey, thank you, sir. Have a beer. Actually, I'm going to have myself my herbal tea so I don't hack all over the camera here in front of you. God bless. Thank you so much for the tip there. Yeah, so he wrote to me and said, hey, if you want this pedal, give me your current address and I'll send it to you. 4 years, ladies and gentlemen. 4 years later, I finally got a response from Tommy in that pedal. So we shall see. I gave him my current address here in the Netherlands. So we shall see if that shows up. If it does, I will honestly do another video where I say, hey, it took 4 years, but this guy made me whole. It's about $120 that I paid for it. So yeah, 4 years even with COVID is ridiculous. This was prior, when I made that video, I checked the date of it, it was August of 2020. So, you know, COVID was just around the corner, but it still wasn't there yet. And he was still a year and 6 or 7 months in on not giving me a pedal. So here we are 4 years later. And Tommy has contacted me and let me know that he intends to send it now. I shall hold my breath on that one. Or maybe I shouldn't hold my breath on that one. I'll probably die of asphyxiation. But he says that he's going to send it. So I will let you guys know when it comes in. We'll check it out. An unexpected pedal review to be sure if it does show up. But yeah, let's see if he actually does that. So that's the latest on that, believe it or not. Today's subject, we're gonna talk about layoffs, and I specifically want to talk about the Guitar Center. You know, where is it? Is it over here? No, it's not handy. I'm sorry, it's in its case. I showed you guys my microphone that I bought from the Guitar Center in 1993. Vocal mic that I've had since then. Whenever I went into the Guitar Center and I went and had conversations with the staff there, the one in Hollywood on Sunset, which was the one that I went to when I was growing up in LA. Those guys were super knowledgeable. The guy who pointed out that microphone said, "Hey, this is made in Russia. Uh, Vox, swap my AC-15 for a Fender Blues Junior. I can pick the Fender up." Yeah, man, those boxes will break your back. They really will. Those are some heavy, especially the 2x12s. You don't think that they're that heavy, but they are. Yeah, Blues Junior will save you on chiropractor bills later on down the line. But I used to go to the Guitar Center because the guys there, they really knew their stuff. Uh, and if I had a question or if there was something that I was trying to do recording wise, at that time I was working for Motown. And so I had a lot of work flying my way. I had a lot of stuff that I had to do. And that was my go to place. Um, yeah, 78 pounds on the AC-30. I don't know how Brian May does it. You know, Brian May, that guy looks like a stiff wind would break him in half. If it's somehow or another, back in the early days of Queen, he used to lug those bad boys around. So, yeah, Dr. Brian May, a physicist, no doubt. It just goes to show you that physicists can actually be cool. But the guys at the Guitar Center were really super helpful. Now you fast forward to today, and that is not the case at all. As a matter of fact, it's gotten to be pretty sad at the Guitar Center. They have a lot of stock, a lot of shiny stuff, but when it comes to the staff, sorry guys, another cat. Um, the staff there were the opposite. As a matter of fact, I went there. The last time I was there was in 2019. Was buying some stuff, a hard case, I think. It's one of these cases over here, and I bought the wrong size case. And in the same day, I went back to that Guitar Center to the same guy that I bought it from. I said, "Hey, we had this conversation, but as it turns out, this doesn't fit the guitar that I just bought. I was trying to get a case for it so I could bring it back to Singapore." And I said to him, he said, "Do you have the receipt?" I said, "No." I said, "I don't have it on me." He said, "Dude, it's just been a few hours. Are you kidding me? You don't have it?" And you know, you know, I'm pretty. I let things roll off a little bit, but I was like, for God's sake, guy, you know, I'm a regular customer. At least I like to think I am. I've got your card, and I'd like to get a little bit. I wouldn't want to be berated over a receipt, and I just made up my mind that I'm never going to set foot. Yeah, I know it sounds trivial, but just his attitude and the attitude of everybody in that place. I went to Guitar Center in Miami in 2019. All the stuff I wanted to do was play guitar to each other and show off. I went to Sam Ash instead. Yeah, because as you know, right across the street from the Guitar Center on Hollywood up there on Sunset is a Sam Ash. And believe me, Sammy Ash Jr. will be getting my business if I ever find myself in those neck of the wood in the future. I will not be going to the Guitar Center. And for this other reason. Last month, the Guitar Center laid off 500 people, and 300 of them 300 further people got demoted with their benefits being completely cut off. So that means 500 people got fired, 300 got demoted. Has the lungs to lug around, has the last. Not in the early days. Not in the early days of Queen. In the early days of Queen, those guys were just like you and we. We had to lug our own stuff around. So I'm really impressed with him. He's a strong cat. Tall cat. Strong guy. But 500 people were laid off. 300 were demoted and had their benefits taken away. Now, this was after a 400% sales increase across the board in this sector that we discussed, the music instruments sector, in 2021 going into 2022. As a matter of fact, booked their highest profit ever at $2.1 billion. That's billion with a B for that period. To give you an equivalent here in Europe is Thomann located in Germany, during that period, they booked a $1.7 billion sales for that period, and that was also up from the previous years. So Guitar Center did almost double the business of even Thomann over here in Europe. And yet, and still, now, 6, 7 months into this year, 6 months in June into the year, they decided to fire 500 employees, and to demote 300. And they're offering, as a sales manager position, $20 an hour. I think Queens still do it all their own heavy lifting. Yeah, Mickey. Yeah. They offered, I was reading a Reddit when the guy was saying, hey, I went down, I've got 25 years of experience in instrument retail. They offered me the management position. They said they'll pay me $20 an hour. Gotta go. All right. Hey, man, have a good day at work tomorrow. Get some rest, and thank you for stopping by. They offered this guy $20 an hour, no commission, and still he had sales goals. And he pointed out the fact that the local airport McDonald's, you can work there and they pay $20 an hour. And there's no sales goals on Big Macs. It's not like, and that's not even a management position, guys. That's not a management position. That's just a regular worker at an airport McDonald's gets $20 an hour. So my big beef with the Guitar Center is that after booking a record profit and paying themselves, because they're privately owned, they're owned by an equity company. Those guys, they took their cut of the money. They see the winds changing here. They see that the market is going south in terms of sales, and they just decided to fire all the people who made it possible and and assisted in that record-breaking profit. And to me, it's outrageous on a whole lot of levels. The way that they treat their employees, as a matter of fact, the regular staff there, I understand, make $10 an hour. They basically live off commissions, and I think that has a lot to do with the aggressive nature that I began to see over the years when I would stop by there. And it's shameful to me. It's actually absolutely shameful that the company that owns the Guitar Center has decided to impact the lives of over 800 people in this way after having their best year ever. Now, listen, I understand retail. I understand the ebb and flow of the business very well. However, when you get into a situation where you book those kind of profits and you don't share them in some form or another, buyouts never benefits employees and are intentionally taken to the brink of insanity. Yes, Anthony. There was at least 2 years of guitar sales. I can't see it happening again. The boom in sales has never lasted long before. No. Yeah, gentlemen, there was a freak period. The COVID, you had the perfect storm. You had governments giving out money, hook and all over the world, giving out benefit money, giving out, different things to tax, as you as a taxpayer, you get a couple hundred to 1,000 to, in some cases, tens and hundreds of thousands of dollars people were taking in during that period. And since they were at home and they wanted to really just focus on whatever struck their fancy at the time, most of that money went into TVs, home furnishings, computers, and of course our favorites, guitars, basses, and pedals, and the like. But in all of these categories now, in the last 6 months, we've seen a decline in sales. We've seen an increase of inflation. Post COVID, there was a lot of used gears for sale. Yeah, I was leading into that, Mickey. The retail returns for the year 2022 is around 16.3%. That means everybody who bought something online this year, so far they've had a return rate of 16.3%, which is double last year's return rate and that's double of the previous year. So we're in no man's land, somewhere to the tune of 781 billion dollars of returns. And by the way, that's more than the budget for the Defense Department in the United States in returns on goods. And we're seeing also steep discounts on a lot of stuff going forward, not just the stuff that we talk about, guitars, but just about everything. Because frankly, the sales aren't there anymore, and also, and as well as that, also in these sectors, they it was a famine to feast kind of thing. In other words, there were shortages. If you remember, it was hard to get stuff. So they front loaded their ordering system. All of this stuff starts coming in, but at the same time, you don't have that kind of foot traffic coming in anymore. You don't have the people coming in every day buying whatever you got. But you start getting all these products in, but you just don't have the kind of foot traffic that's buying them anymore. So, but we've been through this boom and burst cycles before. We've seen this before, and it always amazes me that retailers, in this case, I'm going to put my foot in the butt of Guitar Center, that they couldn't foresee that this was the way it was going to go, and at least do some kind of profit sharing. Or if you didn't do profit sharing, say, hey, well, at least I expect to see a lot more used gear for sale. Fortunately, I'm good. Yeah, that's what we talked about last time. I'm good. I'm good too. They're not going to get my money because I'm not spending it. But at least they said, okay, we didn't profit share with our employees, but let's set aside some money to make sure that we don't have to lay off 800 of them just 6 months going into this year. It's shameful. And you know, I guess my empathy, my level of empathy, especially for guys who work in this business, is very high, and to hear and read these stories that I was reading on Reddit about these layoffs. Oh, I know, Mickey, that the equity corporations don't care. They don't care. We could do a whole show where I could talk about how these equity companies buying private real estate, houses, apartments, and things like that are going to lead to the you own nothing economy, which is right around the corner. But I don't want to get into that right now. But no, they do not care. A guy told me that you become like the god that you worship. So if you worship money, then you are going to take on the attributes of money. If you worship rocks and stones, then you're going to take on the attributes of a rock or a stone. I find that to be extremely true. And if you bow down to the altar of the almighty dollar, your empathy goes right out the door. And that's just the way it is. I'm not saying that I believe it's ever going to change. I don't believe it will myself. I know how these guys are because when I was living in Singapore, I was around them a great deal. And let me tell you, they are some of the biggest asses that you possibly run into. But at the same time, I'm not going to sit here and not voice my one man's opinion on it and say that it's really crappy. It's a really crappy thing to do. It's really shameful. It really is. That's the only word that I can come up with is shameful. That it, 6 months in after booking your biggest profit ever, you're going to lay off. You're going to effectively change the lives of 800 of your employees with a staff of 10,000, and of that staff, totally agree. I like to stay human. Yeah. Uh, when you have a complete staff of 10,000, so that's complete in. Oops, my light died on me. Well, when you have a staff of 10,000 in total employees for the Guitar Center network, and you laid off, one out of 10 of them, uh, yeah, that makes you a real jackass. And a poor planner if there was any planning there at all. So that's basically what's going on with that. I just feel that what's going on in the space, especially with companies like Guitar Center, I haven't heard anything about Sweetwater or some of those other big retailers there in states, along in McCade in Canada as well. I don't know what's going on in terms of layoffs with them. I suspect in the case of Sweetwater not having as many brick and mortar stores, that's probably not going to happen to that kind of level of layoffs. We shall see. If you guys hear anything about that, or if you know anything about that, chime in down in the comment section. I'd like to hear about it, especially what's going on in Canada along McQuaid's. I'm very curious what the situation is with them if they're doing the same thing. All right. Okay, let's change the subject. If you can see here behind me, I've got my mastering screen up. So that means that tonight I want to play you some more music from my album. I want to play another track from my album from you guys and talk about it a little bit as a subject for this evening. I want to slowly through the course of the next few weeks or so go through the album with you, just discuss some of the tracks, not all of them, but for you to get a feel for the album that I worked on, and just the pleasure of me being able to sit here and discuss, my thought process behind making it, which is something that I've never done before with any of my other works. I've never sat down and said, well, I was doing this at the time, and this is what I was thinking, and this is how this came out. So this is actually quite fun. So I'm going to play you, so last time I played you the first track on the album, a song called Belly Dancer. That's the first track on the album. I'm actually going to go and segue into the second track on the album that you're going to hear. It's called Funky Good Time. Now, this track I completely recorded in my studio in Singapore. As I've mentioned before, there's 3 tracks on this album because I started this album before I moved here, that I recorded most of the basic tracks. In the case of this one, I actually did the complete song. I started out one day, I was playing drums. As you know, my studio, I had a drum kit, Tama drum kit, and I was sitting there playing drums, and I came up with this drum lick, and I started coming up with a rhythm idea. So I set up my microphones, I recorded myself playing the drums. Now, I had a guitar teacher named High Tide Harris. High Tide Harris is a very famous blues musician. As a matter of fact, High Tide took Eric Clapton's place in the Blues Breaker, John Mayall's Blues Breakers. So after Clapton left, High Tide Harris took his place. Was one of the guitarists that John Mayall brought in to play in the Blues Breakers. He brought an authentic sound because those guys, John Mayall, Eric Clapton, all those guys, they're blues guys. And in the case of High Tide, this guy is a real African American blues guy. and he has a lot of movie credits to his name, and so he's not somebody who didn't understand the recording process. But when I was talking to him about a song one day, I was playing him something, and he was like, "Why haven't you recorded the drums to this yet?" And I said, because I wanted to put down, it was a piano thing, so I put down the basic piano part. I said, I know in my head where the drums are going already. And he just looked at me. He said, "How can you, how can you react off of this tune without having the rhythm section down?" I said, "Because I have the rhythm section already in my head." And it was at that point that I realized that maybe with me, that maybe that's something that I have, an ability that I have, that's maybe not that common. When I hear a song, especially, I hear pretty much, well, all of it. I hear all of it. So in the case of Funky Good Time, I was sitting there, and I started playing the drum part, and I said, "Hey, I got an idea for this." And I grabbed my bass, and I started working out a basic line, and then I recorded the drums in one take. Yeah, two takes. I actually two takes. I did two takes, and then I split them. I put them together at some point, I think. And then I laid the bass line on top of that. Then the guitar parts, which I recorded using my Laney and using my Gibson Gold Top. I had it my 92, 93 Les Paul Classic Gold Top to record the guitar parts. I had a artist that I was working with at that time named Irene Dream. She was a Filipino girl that I brought in to do some background session work for a TV commercial that I was working on at that time. And when she came over, I said, "Hey, I got this other song. I was wondering if you could add a part on top of it." And she did. And then I laid down all the other vocal parts. I think I stacked about 12 or 13 different background vocal parts because I wanted this huge sound to the track. And I mixed it here. I finished it up here. I laid a guitar solo into it. I did that here. I hadn't done the guitar solo. And then there's a middle section here at the end where it gets a little weird, where if you got this stereo stuff going left and right, I recorded that here as well. So anyway, that's a little background on the song. Let's take a listen to it and see what you think. So that's me playing drums. I heavy gated. That's the Ampliphone 59, by the way. All right. So that's my song, my track, Funky Good Time. Um, that's a great example of me coming up with an. Thank you, Mickey. I appreciate that. This is a good example of me coming up with a track there on the spot. I literally wrote that song and recorded it in a day. The basic tracks that you heard here, the vocals, I did that in a day. The next day, I think over two, and I had Irene in that day. So I think within a 2 day period, I recorded the basic track for this. Like I said, the guitar solo I did here, actually using my pedal board here and the Epiphone, and then that weird section where you hear all those effects and stuff going back and forth. I did that here as well, but I always had that in mind to add that section in there. But this is a good example of my songwriting where I'm literally lay down the drums, lay down the bass line, lay down the guitar part, do the vocal, and move on. I don't like to spend a lot of time working on tracks. And the only reason that this one got split up between two countries is, of course, because of the move. So glad that I recorded those drums. Yeah, that I actually thanks for the Mickey liking the guitar, the tone of the snare there. I kept the snare. I like the sound that is sitting right over here. I like that sound of that snare so much that was the only part of the drum kit that I kept. Excuse me, was the snare. And actually, I used that as a replacement snare on a few other tracks, recording here in this smaller studio using that snare. So yeah, it's got a great tone to it. So I just wanted to play you that track and talk about it a little bit. I have no idea what happened to Irene. She kind of disappeared on me. She was introduced to me by a friend in Singapore. I asked her, "Have you heard from Irene since the pandemic?" And she said, "No, I haven't heard from her. I really would like to hear from her so that she can hear this track, so she can hear how she sounded on it." I appreciate having her come through. What else can I say about this song? Yeah, just one of those tracks that I wrote. Just came up with the idea. The idea of the track of this song, the meaning of this song, Funky Good Time, is basically talking about. How did I describe it to Irene when I told her? Because she asked me, "What is this song about?" I was watching a Dave Chappelle show episode, and he was riffing on the idea of if the internet was a real place, and you actually walk into a building and all these different rooms, and of course, well, a lot of those rooms are internet porn rooms. So this song is basically a musical riff on that idea. Won't you come and join us? I'm sure you'll have a funky good time. We've got everything you want and nothing that you need. So come on. It's basically talking about the dark side of internet in a funky kind of way, but that's actually really the concept of this song. And I gated the drum, so that drum part. After I laid it down, I put a very I sync the gate to the tempo of the song so that gate opens and closes. So it's actually very musical sounding. As a matter of fact, I'll play that opening part again just so you can hear what I mean by that. So you hear that hi-hat has that gate opening and closing on it. And it creates a thick sound to it, but also at the same time also it fills it up, because this song is basically drums, bass, and guitar and vocal, and that's it. There's not a lot of instrumentation there, so I did a lot of production tricks in order to make it sound a lot bigger than it is. Also stacking vocals as well. So anyway, that's Funky Good Time, guys. I hope you enjoyed listening to that. Um, I'm going to call it quits because I'm starting to sweat a little bit, and God knows that my medication is probably going to run out here. I cannot even stress to you guys how bad that was last week. That was the sickest I've ever been, and I never got COVID. Fortunately, I never got it. But I said to myself, okay, well, finally they got me. Um, and by the way, I opted also not to get the shots as well. Uh, but I said, well, they finally got me. But when I went and got tested for it, it came back negative. No, this is not COVID. It's just a really bad flu I had this week. And so, however, I am extremely pleased of my inner, yeah, no shots, yeah. Not unless it was necessary. It was just, yeah, it was just something that I didn't see necessary, because I work, both of the businesses that I run here from my home. And my interactions with people is, I can be very hermit-like. I can go weeks without interacting with very many people at all, which is not a good thing. It's another reason why I like coming here on Sunday nights and sitting down and talking to you guys, because I'm interacting with real people and not being the weirdo hermit that I usually am. But you gotta kind of be a little bit of a weirdo hermit to come up with this kind of music. A little bit, a little bit. But yeah, I decided not to do the shot thing. But I said, okay, they finally got me. But no, it wasn't that. It was something. It was just a flu, I suppose. But my goodness gracious, I was sick as a dog. And 37, yeah, but 37.5, 37.6 I was averaging, even up until just this last Saturday, just yesterday. But here I am, and there's no way I wasn't going to be here tonight because I truly, honestly love being here and talking to you guys. Over the course of a week, I'll get up to 100, or to even some of these 200 more people who will join in and watch the rebroadcast of this. So I want to say thank you to all of them as well for taking the time to sit through this. I want to thank you guys. I want to thank you so much for the donation of. I appreciate it. Uh, it means a lot to me that somebody would be kind enough to tip me for this. I really do this from the heart. I really talk about. Thank you, Mickey. This is a great Sunday night show. Thank you. Hope you're feeling better. Thanks for the great show. Thanks, Ben. I want to let you guys know I appreciate your support. I read the comment section as soon as I put a video up. If you notice, I'm pretty quick to reply back to in the comment section as they come in when you guys write in, and I take it very seriously. This is a job to me as well, but it's a pleasurable job that I take very seriously. And I want to let you guys know that come rain or come shine, I'm always going to try to sit here and bring you something because you guys take the time to support me. So I'd be a real dick if I said, oh, I'm too sick to do. Short of being dead, I'm pretty much going to try to do something with this channel and give you guys something to watch and to listen to. So just another way of me letting you know that I'm serious about this. And I am very blessed to have each and every one of you every week coming in and supporting this channel. Newland, God bless you, brother. Guys, if you remember, I told you about Newland Guitars channel. I told you about Black Boy and the Band's channel. And I told you about Peahan Shih Tzu's channel. Please go over there and support these guys' channels. If you're subscribed to me, then you should be subscribed to them. All of these guys have different perspectives on guitars and instruments and the knowledge base and the things that they have. They'll even Newland called me out and said, hey, you're talking like a man with a fever, which I was. and Black Boy in the Band, that guy is a great guitarist. He plays a lot of styles. He's really into metal and a lot of things, and does a lot of fantastic reviews on stuff that I wouldn't cover. Of course, Peahan Shih Tzu has been a very long standing friend of this channel. He has great songs that you guys should you think my song ideas are obtuse, you should listen to his. That guy it really shows his intelligence, his tracks, the titles, the thought behind it, and the music itself. So all three of these guys, I'd like to just throw it out there. If you're watching this now or in the rerun, take the time to go check them out. All right, it is 47 minutes in, almost midnight here. I am going to go have a hot toddy. Yeah, I actually make those. Lemon juice, honey, and whiskey, and hot water. A shot of whiskey, maybe this little bit of whiskey to try to help me out here so I don't cough myself to death going into the evening, and try to get some sleep too. And that's going to be my evening. Wherever you guys are, day or night, I want you to have a good day or good evening yourselves. Again, thank you so much for taking the time to join in tonight. And certainly I will have another program this week. Like I said, we'll film Adios. Tea time here in Yorkshire. You know, I lived in Greenwich. I lived right on the Blackheath. I lived for 5 years in the UK. I lived in the Blackheath, right next to Greenwich Park. Boy, I can't wait for Halloween to come around, guys. I'm going to tell you my ghost stories. I lived in an authentic haunted house. No kidding, no exaggerations. I lived in a haunted house in England. And when we get to October, I'm going to do a live stream. I'm just going to tell you my ghost stories. And there's a few the other weird things that I've experienced in my travel. I've seen a lot of weird stuff that has just, you know, I'll throw it out there so you, when that time comes, so you guys can hear it and you can make your own judgments. But yeah, I lived in a haunted house in England, in the Blackheath. Anyway, guys, enjoy your tea time wherever you are, or enjoy your morning milk toast or whatever you have in the morning for breakfast, or your dinner, or in my case, my hot toddy so I can get to bed. Please take care of yourselves and be safe this week. We'll be filming me taking that vintage Echoplex down to this guy to get fixed, so that'll be the show this week pretty much. We'll meet a new guy, this new guitar amp tech, and see what he's about and what he thinks. So that should be pretty cool. Until then, you guys take care and God bless. Good night.